And greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to AMC Mail Bag. This is, of course, the Mail Bag edition, the weekend edition, if you will, of AMC Movie Talk. And some of you may be saying, but John, it's Monday. Why is it a weekend? Why is it a mailbag on a Monday? Well, it's Veterans Day. And a special shout out to, of course, all the veterans in the United States and Canada up there for Remembrance Day and their families. A shout out to all of you. And so today's kind of a holiday, and I've given the AMC Movie News staff the day off. But what kind of day would it be without a day of movie talking? So I thought, you know what, even though we've given everybody the day off today, I'm going to be in here, and you and we're going to talk about some movie stuff going on. Now, for those of you who don't know how this works, on Monday through Friday, normally, on AMC Movie Talk, we talk about all the movie news. But on Mailbag, all we do is take your mailbag questions. And you can email us a question, by the way, in case you don't know, at amcmovietalk@gmail.com. So you can send in questions to amcmovietalk@gmail.com. We get like 1,000 questions a week, and that's why on the weekends, all we do is take mailbag questions. Now, we're doing today's show live, so we've got the chat board open. There's already hundreds. Do me a favor, guys, if you're watching right now, don't put in your questions now on the chat board, okay? Because I'm not going to see them. The chat board keeps scrolling. They're just going to scroll by and I'm going to miss them. So what you want to do is just wait till near the end of the show, maybe after the 5th mailbag question. I'll let you know when it's time. And then you can start putting in the mailbag questions, and I will then take a look over there and pick out a few, and we'll interact live and online. I got to share this with you guys, though. You know, every once in a while, like that opening graphic, that Sons of AMC graphic, which, by the way, have you patched in yet to the Sons of AMC? Because you really should. Every once in a while, I get some fan art that people send to me, and some of it is really funny and some of it's really great. And that Sons of AMC graphic is one of those things that it just floored me, and I've even gotten some shirts made of it. But this morning, I also had this passed on to me. This is really cool. This comes from Paul B. I won't say his name out loud just in case he doesn't want it to be public, but Paul emailed me this morning, and this just kind of blew me away. Take a look at this. That is me as a Jedi with the, the Republic symbol behind me, the New Republic symbol behind me with the AMC logo. Just get the detail of this. Take a closer look, like even in on the face. How good is this? How good is this guy? I mean, seriously, this is a remarkable piece of art. I just absolutely love this because you all know what a big Star Wars geek I am. But so I emailed this guy this morning and I said, dude, you are absolutely remarkable. This is incredible. And he asked me, hey, what types of pictures should I make for the other AMC crew? And so he and I brainstormed briefly over email about what type of picture to do for Aaron, what type of picture to do for Amy Rose, what kind of picture to do for Chris Lee, for Dennis, for Schnepp. So I think he's going to do some more. And as soon as he does, I will share them with you guys so you can see the type of work that this guy's doing. I just thought that was remarkable. Okay, so it is time for us to get to some mailbag questions. I got a bunch of them pulled out. Let's get to question number 1. And the first question today comes to us from Ali O, who writes, hello, Sons of AMC. Have you patched in yet? I love the show and I have not missed a single episode since you guys started. I have another comic book movie question, shocker. With the number of superhero movies coming out, I feel it is becoming a bit repetitive that the world is always going to be destroyed. The danger in Thor 2 was not my favorite part of it. It was the character interactions, especially between anything with Loki. Do you think we will see more character-driven movies where the threat is not, we are all going to die? Thanks a lot for the question, Ali. Yeah, as a matter of fact, I had this discussion, I think, with Schnepp maybe like a week or two ago. We were just talking about how, it's the law of diminishing returns, right? It's like if you save a girl, the next time you got to save a neighborhood, and then the next time you got to save a city, and the next time you got to save the country, and the next time you got to save the world. But with a lot of these superhero movies, it often feels like the world is in the balance, like the world's going to be destroyed. The same was true. I mean, definitely the Avengers, the world was at risk, and the new Thor 2, the world was at risk. I think that's one of the things that I liked about like Iron Man 3 was that, and really all the Iron Man films, but Iron Man 3, they reel that in a bit. Like, it's not the world is going to explode unless Iron Man 3 saves the day. No, it was a little bit more smaller scale. And I like the fact when comic book movies don't think every single movie has to be about the world's going to be destroyed, or in Thor 2's case, the universe is going to be destroyed, you know? So I actually really like that. And I think when you look at films like Iron Man 1, 2, and 3, I think when you look at like Batman, the Dark Knight films, the city was going to be destroyed, I think, in just about all of them, but it's not always the world is at stake. I mean, sometimes it's more realistic, smaller risks and smaller stakes on the line. And I like it when comic book movies do that and don't always have to be, oh, what's the world going to blow up from this week? Let's look at the watch, you know? And so I dig that. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love Thor 2. I love Avengers. I do love those films, but it's kind of nice when the superhero genre reels it in a little bit. So, yeah, that's the way I kind of like that. All right, let's move on to the next question. The second question, because I want to make sure we have a lot of time today for a live interactive chat board. Jered Bauer writes, hey, Mac, I think he means AMC. Hey, AMC, do you guys think if Jar Jar Binks was never in the prequels, they would have been watchable? P.S. If J.J. Abrams ruins the Star Wars movies, you guys should call him Jar Jar Abrams. Keep up the good work. Love the show. I love it. I think I'm going to do that. I think if J.J. Abrams really botches up Star Wars Episode 7, and I don't think he will. I have a lot of hope for that film. But if he botches it up, maybe we should start saying JJ stands for Jar Jar. I mean, it fits too perfect, right? But to the first part of your question, when you're asking, you know, do I think that if all you did was take out Jar Jar Binks, would the movie have been more watchable? There is something floating around in the internet, and I think you can find it on YouTube, as a matter of fact. Long, long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, somebody took The Phantom Menace and very skillfully re-edited the film and called it The Phantom Edit. I don't know if you guys have heard about it. If you have, mention it on the chat board, but it's called The Phantom Edit, and I believe it's still on YouTube, and you can find it. And basically what it is he edits out a lot of the annoying stuff, including a lot of Jar Jar Binks, some of the battle droid dialogue, and a lot of other things. It's very well done, as a matter of fact. And if you sit down and watch The Phantom Edit, The Phantom Menace becomes a lot more watchable. It really does. It really goes to show how important the editing room is. Because this guy was just a fan. I believe somebody did a report. I believe he's actually an editor, but then he just took that movie as a fan and just did nothing but edit. And he made it a much more watchable movie. And it's not like he trimmed it down to 25 minutes. I think it's still like a 2-hour-long movie when you watch The Phantom Edit. So yeah, I do believe you just take a scalpel and cut Jar Jar Binks out of The Phantom Menace. I don't know if that it becomes a good movie. It's difficult to say, but it definitely becomes more watchable, I think. And yeah, once again, I love the whole idea of Jar Jar Abrams. All right, let's go on to the third question. The third question today comes to us from Jacob Van Houten, who writes, greetings and salutations, movie talkers. I was thinking that some people thought that Star Trek Into Darkness didn't raise the stakes because they knew, I believe he meant with K-N-E-W, they knew that everyone would live at the end. So my question is, if they ever did kill off one of the main 7 core characters, who would it be and why? Yeah, good question. I don't know that they didn't. When you got Khan in your movie, I don't think you can be accused of not raising the stakes. But I see what you're saying about that. If they were going to kill off one of the 7 core characters, who would it be? Well, it would never be Kirk, so we can take that out. It would never be Spock, although how ballsy, seriously, how ballsy would it be if Paramount killed off Spock? I wouldn't like it. I would hate it because I love Spock. But how ballsy would that be? But I don't think it would ever be him. So you know it's never going to be Kirk. You know it's never going to be Spock. And I'm pretty sure it would never be Bones, played by Carl Urban. But honestly, I think the rest of them could have their heads on the chopping block. I mean, when you look at Uhura, because, you know, quite often in these action-adventure movies, the love interest, sometimes she buys it. So Uhura could be one of them. Chekhov has been pretty much underutilized in this series. already just in the first 2 films. So I think killing off Chekhov would probably be an easy thing to do. But he's been such a small presence in the first couple of movies that I'm not sure killing him off would have much of a dramatic effect. But Chekhov easily could go. I don't think I would. Sulu, they seem to be working him in more and more. I think Sulu even had a more prominent kind of a command presence in Star Trek 2. So I don't know that they would do that. I think you want to keep Sulu around. And then, of course, you got Simon Pegg. Man, you could kill him off, but he is... Don't get me wrong, Bones has some great comedic moments. Kirk has some great comedic moments. They all have some great comedic moments. But really, the levity of that cast is Simon Pegg. You know, Scotty is the guy in this incarnation of Star Trek who is the levity. You know, everybody else has funny moments, but the humor guy, so I don't think you could do him, but it's possible. So, completely off the board, I think, are Kirk and Spock. And I think Bones is also completely off the board. But when you look at Chekhov, Uhura, Scotty, and Sulu, I think they're all possibilities. And like I said, I think the easiest one to do, if they were going to kill off any of them, I believe it would be Chekhov. I believe Chekhov would be the guy to go. Leave your thoughts in the comments. I already some people saying, no, don't kill Scotty. No, we love Simon Pegg. I agree with you. I love him too. I wouldn't want to see him to go, but I think he's a possibility. Okay, let's move on to the next question. And question number 4 comes to us from Liam Chowdhury, who writes, "Hey, AMC Movie Talk. I'm a huge fan of your show and have watched every single episode in the past half year. Thank you so much. My question is this. Since the Godfather prequel novel, The Family Corleone, was released in May 2012, I've been wondering if Paramount Studios would make this novel as a movie, as this book is adapted from Mario Puzo's unfinished prequel screenplay just before his death. Thanks, guys, and may the Force be with you." Thanks a lot for the question. I have not read The Family Corleone, just so you know. I have not read it, but I have read a lot about it. I read like a 10-page synopsis of it. And it basically, for those of you who don't know, it looks at Vito Corleone, who is the Marlon Brando character, the father to Michael. Back in the day, after the flashback events of Godfather 2, but before the events of The Godfather. So that's where The Family Corleone fits. And where all of his children are in school. Tom is in college. Sonny is like 17 years old, and he's starting to show signs that he wants to become a gangster as well, blah, blah, blah. I don't think we're ever going to see a Family Corleone movie. I just think they were done with Godfather Part 3. I think they were happily finished with the franchise at that point. And I mean, let's face it, even though it got nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars, Godfather 3 wasn't exactly beloved by a lot of people. And at this point, you would have to replace everybody. I mean, we've already seen Vito Corleone as a young man played by Robert De Niro in Godfather Part 2. You'd have to replace him. You'd have to replace everybody. Now, I believe all actors are replaceable, but now you're talking about having to replace everybody. And we're too far removed. I think we're too far removed. I just don't think it's going to happen. Now, I may read The Family Corleone, and maybe I'll do that this weekend. I may read it and then think, no, this would be a magnificent standalone film. But since I haven't read it, I can't give my opinion that way on it. You know what I'm saying? So just on its surface, I'd say no, we won't see Paramount do it. But maybe I'll change my mind after I actually read the book. We'll see. All right, let's move on to, and Darren J. Seeley is pointing out a good point. He says maybe a TV miniseries or something. That might be a better avenue for something like that, but we'll see. Next question. Question number 5 comes to us from Utsav, who writes, "Hey all, love the show, watch it every day. My question is about the Wolverine himself. I myself consider him to be the greatest superhero actor." I guess he's talking about Hugh Jackman. "The greatest superhero actor there has ever been. Great as Christian Bale and Robert Downey Jr. were, I don't think they come close to the extraordinary job Hugh Jackman has done as the Wolverine. He is currently the longest running actor portraying a superhero in movies. Anyway, and in my opinion at least, his performances have always been great, regardless of whether the movies were any good or not. So, is Hugh Jackman the greatest ever?" Great question, and I'm sure this is going to bring up a huge debate. I was looking in the chat board before even the show started. And by the way, if you come into the link, the chat board starts like an hour before the show starts, and there were already people in there debating about who's the greatest comic book actor to date. I believe there are 5 contenders for this title. All right. I think number 1 of them has to be Heath Ledger. Maybe giving us the single greatest performance in a comic book movie ever with his portrayal of the Joker. However, I'm going to say right off the top, no, not Heath Ledger. Why? Because we only had, it's too small of a sampling size. For all we know, he may have played the Joker in another film later had he not tragically passed away, and he might have sucked. We just don't know. What we have learned in Hollywood is never just take one performance and think that's indicative for how it's always going to be, right? I think he gave us the single greatest performance, but we never got to see enough of him. So I'm going to say Heath Ledger has to be considered, but once you consider him, you got to take him out of the equation because he only did one film. Another one is going to be Christian Bale. Christian Bale, obviously part of the greatest Batman films we've ever been given with the Dark Knight trilogy. He did a great job in it. He's an Academy Award winning actor, although he didn't win his Academy Award for the Dark Knight. He won it for The Fighter, which he was amazing in. But I'm going to say no to Christian Bale as Batman. I think the real strength, I don't think Christian Bale made the Dark Knight movies. I think the Dark Knight movies made Christian Bale. And he's a very good actor. Don't twist my words here. He's amazing. If you haven't seen The Fighter, see The Fighter. I mean, but as a greatest portrayal of a comic book character, it sounds stereotypical to say, but I'm just lost on the whole, why are you trying to kill me? Where's the bomb? You know, swear to me. Blah, 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 blah. It's like, okay, you know what? No. At that point, I think that alone, just the way he talked as the Dark Knight, as Batman, removes him from the... It was still great. Still great. Don't twist my words. Still great. But I remove him from the conversation at that point of who is the greatest comic book portrayal actor ever. So that's 2 of them. We've had Heath Ledger. We got Christian Bale. Third is going to be Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man. You can't have this discussion without talking about Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man. He has epitomized Iron Man. And a part of that is because I think they just kind of took the natural, normal charisma of Robert Downey Jr. and just kind of made it Tony Stark. You know what I mean? I think they just kind of took him and made that Iron Man. And I think that's part of the reason why it flows so good and so natural. And you have to have Robert Downey Jr. in this discussion. Absolutely. However, I would put him in 3rd place. As awesome as he's been as Iron Man, I would put Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man in 3rd place on the all-time greatest performances as a superhero or as a comic book character. Now let's get to number 2. As I take a drink of water. Number 2, I would say Hugh Jackman. Hugh Jackman has been spectacular as Wolverine. There's just no getting around it. When a really great test of a great actor is when they're in a movie that is not good, in a movie that sucks, and yet they still shine as giving a great performance. Hugh Jackman, you look at X-Men Origins Wolverine, Hugh Jackman is the proof of that. I mean, he's just always bang on 100% solid as Wolverine. And Wolverine is nothing. If you've ever met Hugh Jackman, his real personality is unlike Robert Downey Jr., where his real personality is a lot like Tony Stark. Hugh Jackman is nothing like Wolverine. Other than the fact that he's a really cool guy, he's just totally a different dude. And his performance is always incredible. I'm never pulled out of his performances. It's just, and it stood the test of time. He's been playing this character for like 12, 13, 14, 15 years. He's been playing this guy, and he just keeps getting better and better and better and better at it. It's just phenomenal. He's just phenomenal. But even I would not put as the number 1 actor in a comic book role. I would put him in as number 2. Certainly there's an argument that he's number 1. Certainly there's an argument that Robert Downey Jr. is number 1. But I personally would not put any of them at number 1. My number 1, and Etit 123 has nailed it. It's Tom Hiddleston as Loki. It's Tom Hiddleston as Loki. He has never been the main character. But he so perfectly personifies the spirit of Loki. He is he brings every time the perfect personification of Loki. That I think, he steals all the 3 movies he has appeared in as Loki. He steals it. He just completely steals it. The Christian Bale movies they're usually about Christian Bale, but Heath Ledger stole the one. The Robert Downey Jr. movies are about Robert Downey Jr. Nobody's ever stole from him, blah, blah, blah. But Tom Hiddleston as Loki is never the main character, and he steals it every single time. I mean, you're just entranced when he's on screen as Loki and he speaks. Your attention isn't anywhere else. At least that's my personal opinion on that. So I would say the 5 guys, once again, you got to take into consideration Heath Ledger, but once again, he only did one, so you got to kind of take him out of the consideration. Number 2, Christian Bale. Number 3, going the 3, Robert Downey Jr., 4, Hugh Jackman, and 5, which happens to be my number 1 guy, would be Tom Hiddleston. But that's just me. You guys may think differently. So leave in the chat board. A lot of people are going through the things really quickly. Leave your thoughts in the chat board about what you think. Some of you are jumping up and down thinking I'm completely right, and some of you are screaming at me that I'm completely wrong. Hey, dude, that's my opinion. And it just so happens to be correct. Everything's subjective, but yeah, leave all your stuff in there too. I mean, some other people you got to take consideration. Sir Ian McKellen as Magneto. Damn, of course he's got to be taken consideration. I should have had him in that consideration list as well. Ian McKellen as Magneto. I mean, Patrick Stewart as Professor X has been magnificent as well. I mean, lots of great guys, but I would still say it comes down to those 3. I think it comes down to Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, Tom Hiddleston as Loki. I think it comes down to those 3. That's just me. All right, guys, listen, I'm about to do the last mailbag question. So now's the time. If you've got questions or topics you want to bring up, throw them in the chat board. I will do my best. The chat board is just constantly moving, so I will do my best to see them. So I'm going to just do the last mailbag question now, and then we will go to the chat board. So here we go. The last mailbag question has the honor of going to Sanjay S. And Sanjay writes, "Hey guys, love your show. Why couldn't they get Andy Serkis, one of the greatest motion capture artists I've seen in my life, to play any of the Guardians of the Galaxy characters, i.e. Rocket Raccoon or Groot?" I'm going to go one step further, Sanjay. Andy Serkis is not one of the greatest motion capture performers of all time. He is hands down the greatest motion capture artist of all time. I mean, he's incredible. I made an argument, and I contend to this day, that I believe Andy Serkis not should have won, but I believe Andy Serkis should have been nominated for Best Supporting Actor for his role as Caesar in Rise of the Planet of the Apes. When you see Caesar in that movie, and remember, everything is Andy Serkis. All of that is Andy Serkis. And of course, a very talented team of visual effects artists, but the whole performance is Andy Serkis. And I was floored by it. That's what made that movie work for me, was Caesar. It's a good movie on its own. It's a great movie because of Andy Serkis. And when a supporting actor does that, I believe he should be nominated for Best Supporting Actor. I wrote an article about that a number of years ago. I still believe it to this day that he should have been nominated. Now, that being said, just because Andy Serkis is the best to have ever done motion capture, that doesn't mean he's the only guy that any motion capture now has to be done by Andy Serkis. Not at all. There are many, many, many great motion capture artists out there who can do a spectacular job. It doesn't always have to be Andy Serkis. It's kind of the same frustration I get with some people sometimes when Lord of the Rings finished, when Return of the King finished, all everybody ever talked about was Peter Jackson. Peter Jackson's got to direct the next Star Wars. Peter Jackson's got to direct the next Star Trek. Peter Jackson's got to do the next Hannibal Lecter movie. Any movie that came up and say who should direct it, everybody needs to see Peter Jackson should do it. Peter Jackson should do it. It's like, Peter Jackson's great, but he's not the only director out there. And then it's Christopher Nolan. Oh, Christopher Nolan should direct this, and Christopher Nolan should direct that, regardless of whether it'd be a good fit or not. Everything should be done by Christopher Nolan. There are a lot of great directors out there. And absolutely, Andy Serkis is the best. And if they said Andy Serkis was going to be doing the motion capture for Rocket Raccoon, I'd be doing a little dance of happiness. Someone's going to turn that into a vine. I just know it. So, I mean, I would be doing a dance of happiness for sure. But it's not a bad thing that he's not in it. You don't always have to get Andy Serkis to do everything. when it comes to motion capture. So that is my thing on that. And just because I'm looking at it, I'm going to bring up this picture again. Whee! I love that picture. Okay, enough of that. All right, guys, I'm going to now get to the chat board because the chat board is scrolling like crazy here. All right, so I'm going to just pick one at random here. Okay, so I got Colton Halley who writes, how well do you think Captain America Winter Soldier will do when it comes out if it is the best Marvel film ever? I feel it won't make as much money as Thor or Iron Man because of overseas sales. You know, okay, so you're asking, assuming that Captain America Winter Soldier is the greatest Marvel movie ever, which is a big assumption, but let's go with it. How will it do at the box office? I agree, and I think you pointed out the exact reason. I don't think a Captain America will do as well overseas simply because of the title. I mean, it's not going to kill business overseas because of the title, but I think it'll hinder it. I think you're right. I don't think it'll do as well as Thor. I don't think it certainly won't do as well as Iron Man 3. And it certainly won't do as well as Avengers, but it's going to do well. Just like the first Captain America. I mean, the first Captain America didn't bust any box office records, but it did well. And I believe this will also do well. The trailer looked fantastic. And if it ends up being the best Marvel movie ever, that will just, encourage repeat business and all that kind of stuff. I still don't think, Thor just had like an $83 million opening weekend. They're pretty damn happy about that. It blows away what the first Thor did. And I believe Captain America Winter Soldier will blow away what the first Captain America movie did. But I agree. I think it'll do really well. It'll be really solid. But it won't break Thor. I don't think it'll hit 80 million opening weekend. Let's put it that way. And overall, because of the overseas stuff, I don't think it'll match up with Iron Man 3. But it'll do well. It'll do really, really well. Okay, so let's see what else we got here. Look at that. The chat board is frozen on me because too many people. Okay, let's try this. Fazan0086 writes, John, I'm Canadian too, so you have to read my question. It's a law, by the way, in Canada. As a Canadian, I must read other Canadians' questions. So, you have to read my question. You say video games don't make good movies, but what about Mortal Kombat? Look, I'm not saying video games don't make great movies. I'm saying no video game movie has been good. It's not that they can't be good. It's that none of them have been good. Might have to make an exception about Mortal Kombat. Now look, let's call spade a spade. Mortal Kombat, the original, was terrible movie. Terrible. But I loved it. I loved it so much. I saw it in the theater so many times when I was younger. Then I bought it on video. I bought the soundtrack. It's a terrible movie, but I love it. It's kind of like dating a very slutty girl. Terrible girl, but I love her. Bring on the filthy. Anyway, I'm going to get a call from AMC about that last comment. Anyway, Mortal Kombat's a movie I loved, absolutely, but it was terrible. And once again, I'm not saying video movies can't be good. They can. I'm holding out. I got a lot of hope for 2 video game movies coming out. I got a lot of hope for Assassin's Creed. I think there's really good potential that can be good because it's all just great narrative. You got some rich characters in there. It looks great. And Warcraft. I got a lot of hope for Warcraft, especially knowing that, what should I say here? Knowing that Colin Farrell is in negotiations to take on the lead character, the lead role in Warcraft. Folks, I've seen Saving Mr. Banks. And that is a movie with one of the greatest actors of all time, Tom Hanks. One of the greatest female actors of all time, Emma Thompson. And they're both great in it. Saving Mr. Banks is stolen by the performance of Colin Farrell. In a movie with Tom Hanks, Colin Farrell steals that movie. His performance in it as Peel Travers' father is breathtakingly good. I didn't know. I loved Colin Farrell in Bruges, but I didn't know he was capable of this level of acting. I thought he was fantastic in it. So knowing that he's in negotiations and we very well could see a Colin Farrell in Warcraft, that just raises my hope level even more. So I'm excited for it. All right, let's see. Man, it's still, the chat board still has not budged. I'm just going to do a quick refresh here and see if that helps. And it did help. Okay. Let's see. John Infusio is asking, John, whatever happened to Westerns in the cinema? Yeah, we don't get a ton of Westerns, do we? I mean, every once in a while, a Western will pop out. Let's not talk about Lone Ranger. But a Western will come out, and it'll be great, whether it's, The Assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford, great movie that nobody went to go see for whatever reason. 3:10 to Yuma, great movie. So yeah, Westerns come, and even when they're great, but it seems like the Western genre is not dead, but it's in a period of time right now where it's really struggling. It's having a hard time pulling out some great ones. And I'm sure you guys can jump on the chat board and list off some other great Westerns we've seen in the past maybe 10 years. And we'll see where that goes from there. Okay. Treverage is writing, John, any plans for a AMC Movie Talk the movie? None, because quite frankly, there is no actor in Hollywood good enough looking to play me. Moving on. Let's see. Omar El Masiri writes, will Batman versus Superman have better trailers than Man of Steel? It's going to be tough. I love the trailers for Man of Steel. I thought they got my heart pounding. I was all excited about them, but I'm going to guess just the very presence of Batman in them is going to get people really excited. So I'm going to go on a limb. I'll say yes, the trailers for Batman versus Superman will be even better than Man of Steel. Let's see. What else do we got here? Matthew Hablin is writing, Halo movie. Why haven't we got one yet? There's a lot of reasons, but I think the big one is there was a Halo movie in the works, and then I think studios got scared by how big the budget was getting and by the fact that Peter Jackson wanted to make a completely inexperienced director in Neil Blomkamp, who later went on to direct District 9, that he wanted to put in Neil Blomkamp to direct this huge tentpole project with a huge spiraling out of control budget into the hands of a guy who had never directed anything before, had never directed a feature film, had never been a second unit director, had never been an assistant director on a feature film before. And I think there were a lot of different things, as far as I know, that led to that. But I think those were two of the very, very big reasons. And why hasn't it happened yet? I don't know. I think, look, you got to understand, doing a Halo movie is going to be really damn expensive. I mean, really damn expensive. If you're going to give the type of movie that the fans are hoping for and looking for, it's going to be really damn expensive. And I've said this before, I still think a Halo movie is going to come, but I think the window is starting to close. I think you got this window for Halo, right? But the window is closing more and more. The longer we go, the further away we get from the peak of the popularity of Halo. Look, let's be honest. As much as a lot of people still love Halo, the peak of Halo's popularity is now behind us. It's in the rearview mirror. Still majorly popular. But I believe with the peak of its popularity being in the rearview mirror, I believe the further away we get from that peak, the less and less the chances get for a Halo movie. I still believe we're going to get one. I just really think they need to get their horses in gear and make it happen. All right, let's see what else we got here. Once again, still the chat board is stuck. I'm just going to take a couple more here. Sorry for these awkward moments, but this is what happens when you do it live. Okay, let's see. Why hasn't Resident Evil been revamped to the original story from the game? Well, the Resident Evil game, the Resident Evil movies, in my opinion, suck. Now, I've got some good friends of mine, really smart dudes, who really like the Resident Evil games, and that's why all film's subjective. The thing is, too, they do Resident Evil on a fairly respectable budget. They keep the budget fairly low, and they're able to make just enough money that they're all profitable. So, I mean, as long as you're making money and it's profitable going the way they're going, they're not going to stop. Why would you? It'd make no sense to stop. Go back and revamp it to the original story from the game. There's no point. There's just no point. Movie-going audiences right now have a certain expectation with Resident Evil movies. It's proved to be profitable for them with the formula that they're using. No need to go back and revamp it. Not that it wouldn't be a good idea to do so like 10 years from now, but right now, they're not going to stop. They keep saying they're going to stop, but then they don't, and they're not going to stop. So, yeah. Javier Gutiziera, I'm sorry, Javier, I'm sure I'm butchering your name. Do you think there should be a Loki solo film? No, I don't. And I just finished talking about how I think Tom Hiddleston is the greatest performer as a comic book character so far. But Loki, I completely believe this. Loki and Thor are defined by their relationship with each other. I don't, honestly, I think to do a Loki film without Thor would be a real disservice to Loki. And therefore, no, I don't think there should be. As great as a character as he is, he's defined by that relationship with Thor. And therefore, I don't think they should do a Loki solo film. Okay, Chris C. writes, do you think they made Kal-El weaker in the Man of Steel movie? He struggled to hold that oil rig up 20 minutes into... let's try this wording of this again. Do you think they made Kal-El, Superman, weaker in the Man of Steel movie? He struggled to hold up that oil rig. In Superman Returns, he lifted an entire island easily. Will this affect the next movie? I think there's a lot of ways you could explain it. When the oil rig was toppling and he was holding it up, I think also that more had to do with balance than strength. But you can make an argument in it that Kal-El being on Earth in Man of Steel gets stronger and stronger the longer he's on Earth, especially then once he discovers his true heritage and he was able to wear his Kryptonian clothes and all that kind of stuff, that maybe he gets stronger and stronger and stronger as they go. I don't know what the rationale is, but we'll have to see. But at the same time, you don't want to make Superman complete godlike in strength, because then it's a little limiting for what you can do with a Superman when he is God. You know, he is infinitely powerful, infinitely invulnerable, infinitely all-seeing, and infinitely all-knowing. You get really limited for what you can do with a guy like that dramatically. So I think they had to pull... He's still the strongest being in the universe, but I think they had to pull back a little bit. But whether that was intended or not, we'll have to see. Maybe I'll take one more. Let's see here. Once again, my chat board is freezing up, so I'll just reboot one more time, and we'll see how this goes. All right, let's see here. What are your top 5 favorite Stan Lee cameos? Too tough of a question to pull off the top of my head. Do you think Black Canary, Anthony Williams asking, do you think Black Canary will be brought into the DC cinematic universe in the near future? I don't think so, because I don't think we're going to see Green Arrow brought into the cinematic universe anytime soon either. And when they do, I don't think it's going to be the Green Arrow from TV. Is Hans Zimmer the greatest scorer in cinematic history? No, John Williams is. There's no discussion to be had on that topic. John Williams is. Should WB use team-up movies to introduce new characters like Aquaman? It's a good formula. Winged Edge asked that. It's a good formula. I am one of these guys who I have had my mind changed. You guys have changed my mind and convinced me otherwise. I used to think Aquaman was a joke, and you guys have convinced me and pointed me to some material to read and get caught up on New 52 and see him in Injustice Gods Among Us. You have changed my position. You have changed my mind. Aquaman is badass, and we do need to see him on the big screen. How they're going to bring him in, I don't know, because public perception is still that Aquaman is a joke. That's still the public perception. And the fact of the matter is, when you're considering putting up $150 million, $200 million to make and market a movie, you have to take in consideration what is the public perception of this character. And right now, the public perception that Aquaman is a loser. That's the perception. As wrong as it is, that is the perception. And they're going to have to do something, I think, first to change that perception, to get people like me, who once was blind, but now I see the glory that is Aquaman, and convince people that Aquaman is pretty badass, and then give us a movie. Because you're not going to make a $200 million movie on a character that most people think is a joke and won't go see. So that's the big challenge. Let's see. Tom Zickout writes, question, will we ever see a Jack Reacher 2? The first one did good at the box office, Bring on the Filthy. It didn't do great at the box office. It did pretty well. I liked it. I didn't like the last 10 or 15 minutes of the film. I think the film got away from them near the end. I like Jack Reacher. I thought it was a really good, fun movie. I really like Tom Cruise in it. I think that's his wheelhouse, that type of actioneer movie. He still doesn't sell me as a real big badass dude because he's so small, but still, he did a great job in the film. I liked it. But with Tom Cruise's dance card getting filled up now with like Mission Impossible. Is it 6 they're doing now or 7? I can't. I lost count. And you know, All You Need Is Kill and a bunch. But I don't know that we'll ever see him go back to Jack Reacher. It didn't do as well as they were hoping. It did okay, but I think we're probably seeing the last of him. Chubby Bubby writes, John, what kind of bat suit do you think will be featured in Batman vs. Superman? Don't care. Don't think it's important. As long as there's no nipples, then we're fine. Otherwise, it's just the suit. It doesn't matter. In my opinion, you may care, and that's cool if you care, but you're asking me, and I don't care, so I'm just telling you I don't care. Let's see. I keep saying last question, but now this will be the last question. If I can get the damn, and once again, I'm going to reboot it here and see how this does. Man, this is a 40-minute show, and about 10 minutes of it is me waiting for a chat roll to keep going again. Max Literal writes, question, do you think there will be a prequel or a small sequel scene or a small prequel scene in maybe Thor 3 or Avengers 2 about how the Asgardians got the Infinity Gauntlet? At some point, we are going to have to understand. I don't think Asgard has the Infinity Gauntlet, by the way. They don't. Asgard has one Infinity Gem. That's it. They don't have the Infinity Gauntlet. I don't think they have the gauntlet. I mean, maybe they got the gauntlet, but they don't. I mean, the gauntlet's not the gauntlet until it's got the gems, right? But at some point, much like the opening of Thor 1, where you hear Odin narrating the story of the frost giants invading Earth and Asgard coming to defeat them. And then at the beginning of Thor 2, Malekith trying to destroy the universe and how the Asgardians came to stop them. I believe either in an Avengers film or in a Thor film or somewhere along the lines, you're going to have an opening sequence like that explaining the gauntlet and the gems. Something at some point they have to do that. I don't think you're going to have a whole prequel movie on it, but I do think a small 5-minute prequel scene at the beginning of one of the key films, I believe that is what will happen, and that's the way they'll go. All right, folks, that will do it for me. We've gone over 40 minutes. My voice is already starting to crackle and pop. We got to call it a day now. But before I go, once again, let me remind you guys, this is an AMC show. You know why these shows exist? Seriously, you want to know why AMC Movie Talk and AMC Movie News exist and why they pay me and why they pay Amy Rose and my staff to do these shows? These are free shows. These shows don't make AMC any money. Do you want to know why AMC does these? Because AMC wants to give back to the fans. They're like, what can we do to give something to the fans, to give something to movie fans, the people who without we would not be in business? And I'm talking to me, say, hey, what can we do? I say, hey, let's give them some shows. People love talking movies. Let's give them something to talk movies about. And AMC's like, all right, we'll pay for it. Go do it. And that's what we do. AMC is freaking awesome. Of course, I'm biased because I work for AMC, but I've always thought that as I drink from my plug AMC cup. But seriously, guys, and it is just the best movie-going experience. So there are a lot of great movies playing out there right now. Head on over to www.amctheaters.com right now for our theater, showtime, and movie ticket information. Also, we will have AMC Movie Talk. We'll be back tomorrow, regularly scheduled. So you'll see the next episode of AMC Movie Talk tomorrow. So it's not just my stupid looking face that you have to look at talking about mailbag questions. We'll actually be getting back to the movie news. And I'm thinking of a contest. I've got a little contest in my head. And because I'm going to bring up this image again here just quickly. As I said, one of my favorite pieces of fan art anybody's ever, because I'm a big fan of Sons of Anarchy. And so dude made this great graphic of Sons of AMC with, me with my hoodie and my hat and my mic stand and everything. And now we're all talking about how we all belong to the Sons of AMC. And now I call you guys, the people who watch AMC Movie Talk and AMC Mail Bag, you are the Sons of AMC. I'm thinking about this little contest that maybe I will do. You know what, dude? There's somebody in the chat board doing something really stupid. So I am going to flag for spam. Anyway, I'm thinking about a little contest, maybe making that piece of art available. I don't know that I'm doing this, so don't hold me to this. But I'm thinking about taking that piece of art and making it available for you guys to download, maybe even a transparency one, and say, make something that has Sons of AMC logo on it, and then make a video with you, whether it's a hat or a shirt or a cup or anything creative, and then send me a video featuring that thing, and maybe I'll give you like 10 AMC movie passes. So passes to 10 movies. I don't know if I'll do that. It's just something I'm thinking about. It might be a really cool idea. Sith Dragon is saying, let us win a date with Chris Lee. I can talk to Chris Lee about that, but I'm not sure her girlfriend would appreciate that very much. So anyway, thank you so much, guys, for joining me today. This has been a lot of fun. I love talking movies with you guys and you guys joining me in the chat board. Again, thank you so much for being here. We will be back again tomorrow. So for AMC Movie News and AMC Mailbag, my name is John Campea. Follow me on Twitter, by the way. If you want to know when we're going to do something live, I'll bring this up again. Follow me on Twitter and on Facebook, because I always announce on Twitter and on Facebook when we're going to do something live. So you can follow me either on Twitter or at Facebook at John Campea. One word. That's where you find me. So thanks again, guys. My name is John Campea, and for AMC Movie News, until next time, bye-bye.